This is part 2 of my facts with psychic medium reading tips. And my readings say in 2005, some of my home equity on my 2-story was taken from the bank. And my readings say my second loan refi money in 06 was taken from the bank. And my readings say my real estate commission I made was taken from the bank. As my readings say, when they file their fraud liens, as my readings say, they filed a fraud lien and lied they had to investigate how I bought a house when I bought it with my 2-story house equity, which would be right on the title report that anybody could read. The purchase, the sale price, the loan balance. They would see the equity I had in the 2-story is what I bought the 1-story with, plain as day. So there's nothing to investigate about the house I bought 20 years ago in 05. Is all anybody would have had to do is read the 2-story house title to see the equity I bought the 1-story with, plain as day. So my reading said they filed a fraud lien and said put Nancy Fox's money in another account, or half of it, or something like this, and to put money sent on a bank truck that said for Nancy Gail Fox, Johnny Savings checking deposit only, 20% her daughter's money, with a bank note that said, Nancy Fox, you need your owned money because you're doing your son of God job. So anyway, my reading says they were putting my money in other accounts with fraud liens starting in 05, and that they took some of my 2-story equity money. As at the close of escrow, I paid off the swing loan I borrowed from it that I bought the 1-story with, that I updated the house with, and I got an additional $50,000 check at the close of escrow after the swing loan was paid off with my seller proceeds in October 05. Marie says they took some of my $50,000 equity, the additional equity check I got at the close of escrow on the 2-story, and that they took some of my second loan refi equity in January, February 06 that I did on the 1-story. So my reading says they tell their mortgage broker to take part of their money out. They do that to run targeted individuals out of their house. They also do it to frame them to look like the house they bought cost too much for their income, to lie they need to get control of their finances. So they frame people by stealing their money from them. And they frame parents to look like they can't provide for their family by taking their money from the bank and their mail from their mailbox on a post that they stock, and from post offices with fraud liens, and plan it all out by their two or more lied, son of Satan conspiracy by texting and coordinating the bank robberies to rob the targeted parents, to frame them to look like the house they bought or apartment they rented cost too much, to frame them to look like they can't provide, to frame them to set them up to take custody away from nice, good parents that they target. So my readings say that this pretend home investigator, black Cadillac tinted window, 6'8" man, serial killer, said put some of her money in another account secretly, and that he always files a lien and says take up to half the income eventually, and to skim off the top when the parent makes a deposit. So when I deposited my $50,000 additional escrow check on the 2-story, reading says they stole part of it, put another account. I refied the 1-story second loan in January 06. I didn't have as much money as I thought I should have in my savings, and that's probably because they stole it. And so I said, I'm going to refi my second loan and take some of my money I put down on the house back out. some of my equity out in the second loan, my money I put down on the house. And so I refied the second, took $50,000 out. I made my second loan payment $200 instead of $100. And already says they stole some of the second loan refi equity money, and that every time I made a big deposit selling homes as a realtor, Reedy says they stole some of my real estate commission money. And my reading says they stole $200,000 of my money from 05 to 09 to run us out of the house, to frame me, to set me up to be a not needed case file, to take custody of my daughters, for me an overnice good mother, long-time sober AA lady, over calm patient, better than average parent, that they planned February 05 when I had a long-time sober AA party at the two-story with new carpet paint and tile. And reading says right then in February 05, they started framing me to look like I spent too much for a single mom who wouldn't be able to provide. When, as I said, I paid $7,000 a month in bills and provided a loan wonderfully as a single mom, working hard as a realtor. And I paid for horses, ballet, theater arts camp, Italian opera lessons, and everything for my daughters. Stylish clothes and great food, and my reading says they started framing me February 05 and lied. Single mom spent too much. Carpet paint, tile, a new outfit at a party. She won't be able to provide for her family, and got to set her up to be a case file and get a hold of her finances for doing all that spending and things like this. It was all planned spending. I plan to spend on the two-story to make more selling it. You spend $20,000 updating your house before you sell it, you'll make $40,000 more selling it. So I knew I'd double the $20,000 I spent as a smart realtor. So anyway, so my reading says they were literally robbing my money from the bank that I made selling homes when I deposited big commission checks in my equity from the two-story and the one-story second loan refi, which was my deposit I put down to buy the house. I just took back out. And I spent, as I said, I spent $40,000 in my two-story equity swing loan updating the one-story house in 05, which I knew would make it worth a lot more. So I knew it'd be easier to refi, and I knew, I felt, I projected the house would be worth $2 million. By updating it, continuing to update it, I was going to add on, and with the market going up and updates, I felt someday it'd be worth $2 million, which it is now, but I don't own it, because they ran us out of the house many years ago. But my reading says they stole $200,000 of my money from 05 to 09 to frame me to be a not needed case file, to frame me to look like the house cost too much, to frame me to look like they had to get a hold of finances secretly, when I read my finances brilliantly. And my whole life I did, starting at age 21. I never had problems paying rent in my 20s or a mortgage. Since I bought a property in the 1980s, I'm a 4-time property owner. I'm one who always kept cash in the savings for bills and reserves, and transferred it to my checking to pay bills every month. And I ran my finances perfectly and always saved money, so I'd have money for bills for months to come. As a single mom realtor, I did that as a costume designer, as I said. So I have never had a spending problem in my life. I'm great at budgeting and great at planning what to spend. I'm great at saving money on what I buy. And I'm better than most people at running finances, and that's a fact. And as I said, I didn't charge, so I had no charge card bills, just a basic mortgage, utilities, food, and my daughter's activities, horses, ballet, and so on. And what I spent to work as a realtor, that was about $1,000 a month. cell phone bill, gas, car washes, dry cleaning, and flyers, real estate dues, all that. So I'm not one to ever overspend. And I am not one to keep my money in my checking and spend it. I want to keep it in the savings for bills and then transfer what extra money I have that I can spend. And so I was very good at running my finances. My reading says they framed me to rob me blind by robbing my money from the bank that I made selling homes and the equity I made on my properties and so on. So that's what I wanted to add in. And so then let's see, in 2007, when my mother's diamond rings went missing from her house in Sherman Oaks. And in 2007, real estate agents were told it was going to be a very slow real estate market from fall 07 to spring 09. It was a global financial crisis. Nobody could get a loan to buy a house. So that's like the movie business going on strike for a year. Like a writer's strike or actor's strike, or COVID, when you don't make your normal income for a year, or any income. So agents were told in fall 07, it's going to be a very slow year in real estate for the next year. And even it was said to agents, you better get a loan from family or get another job or you could work through it. Okay? So of course I said, well, I want to work through it, keep working and selling homes. And I went and told my mom in person in Sherman Oaks it was going to be a slow real estate market. And my mother said, oh, I don't want you to sell the house. I'll get you a loan. And so I said, great, and was very grateful, appreciative that my mom offered to get me a loan to get through the slow real estate market. And so she got a loan from Wachovia, and I think it was $130,000, and probably $5,000 went in her account. $3,500 someone else borrowed from it, and so I borrowed about $120,000 to get me through from 07 to spring 09 because the real estate market had slowed. And during 07, I noticed I didn't have as much money as I should in the bank, and I told my mother, and she said, I asked her to borrow money during 07, and she said, each time she said, no, I do not want you to pay me back. You're such a hard worker and such a good mother, and you're the one always there for me if I need something. So I do not want you to pay me back. So I asked her to borrow money during 07, and she called me every week and asked me how my money was holding out and did I need money. She was intuitive, like she knew something was going on. And anyway, I was there showing a 1.8 million listing 5 times a day during 07. I had escrows going, homes sold. I knew I had money on the horizon during 07 when I asked to borrow money. And so I asked to borrow it planning to pay it back because I had a business going, as usual, as I always did. And so each time she said, I do not want you to pay me back because you're the one there for me if I need something. And you're the one I'm close with. And I'm doing this for you and your kids because you're such a hard worker. And she knew I made great money. I called her every time I sold a house. And she knew I made great money as a costume designer. And she knew I was a very hard worker. And so that was the first time she gave me money in my life. It was 07. Before that, I always paid her back. A couple times at 2-story, she'd float me $4,000 till an escrow closed. I wrote her a post-dated check and always paid her back. So 07 was the first year my mother gave me money. and told me not to pay it back. But she was getting older then. I knew she was going to be, well, she was supposed to be moving in with us soon under our roof. So I knew her house would be rented or sold for $1 million, and she'd be living with us as she was getting older. So she said each time, I do not want you to pay me back. And she'd call me up, how's your money holding out? Do you need money? And let's go to Charles Schwab. Let's go to Citibank. I'll get you money. And she did. 3 times during '07. Did not want me to pay her back. Little did I know then, I didn't know people were siphoning my money out of my bank account I made selling homes. And anyway, my mom was intuitive. Probably she had a feeling. And she was getting too old to drive out and help babysit. She used to pick my daughters up at school and watch them till 6 p.m. or so. And my ex-husband had done that. He was unavailable. So I didn't have any help, because normally both of them helped me. And due to the circumstances, I did not have any help. And anyway, so she gave me money 3 times in '07 from Charles Schwab Citibank, each time in the car. She said, I always said, I want to pay you back. And she always said, no, I don't want you to. And I always said, I want to pay you back anyway. No, I don't want you to, very adamantly. She did not want me to pay her back. She says, you're the one there for me. I take care of you. You take care of me. That's our secret pact. That's what she always said. Because I got the house to take care of her there the rest of her life instead of an elder care. And I called her 5 times a day. So she gave me money in '07.